Hey, this is David Plotz, CEO of CityCast. I have a favor to ask before we get to today's conversation. We're doing our annual listener survey, and it would really help us out if you took it. And even if you took it last year, we'd be grateful if you took it again, because we can't use last year's data. Please go to citycast.fm/survey to take the survey. It's only 7 minutes long, we know, because we timed it. That's citycast.fm/survey. And when you take the survey, you'll also be eligible to win a $250 Visa gift card and CityCast swag, that great CityCast swag. citycast.fm/survey.
Today on CityCast Nashville, it's time for our Friday News Roundup. There's a lot to cover this week, and luckily I'm joined by our executive producer, Whitney Pasterek, and our producer, Daniel Sumstein, to help make sense of it all. First up, it's the Lunar New Year, and we've got some great suggestions for how to celebrate here in Nashville. Then we dive into Tennessee's legislative special session. Whitney breaks down what was on the table and gives us a preview of next Tuesday's Metro Council meeting. We have a follow-up for you on Wednesday's episode about wellness programs at the library. And together, we shout out our local Nashvilleian Grammy nominees, make our predictions, and then end on some really good news about our beloved Dolly Parton. It's Friday, January 31st. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Welcome, Whitney, Daniel. Happy Year of the Snake.
Yes.
The snake. I'm a slithery snake.
Oh, my God. Wednesday marked the start of the Lunar New Year, a holiday that is celebrated in Chinese culture as well as Vietnam, Korea, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Philippines, and Singapore, among other countries. The snake symbolizes good luck, rebirth, and regality. Ooh. The vibes are all about renewal and regeneration. So slither into new beginnings, y'all.
That feels good. That feels positive. I thought somehow the snake might represent something more sinister.
Oh, it does. Don't worry. It's supposed to represent also like chaos and confusion, but that's fine. 2025. Cool. That feels right.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
But Daniel, do we have any Lunar New Year celebrations happening in town?
Yeah, we do. So tonight, actually, the Nashville Symphony is going to be celebrating with an Asian-inspired program, and that's going to be conducted by Ming Luke. It's going to feature a ton of music from across Asia, as well as a solo performance of the Yellow River Piano Concerto by Susan Yang. There's also going to be a bazaar in the lobby prior to the concert.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's going to be curated by Asian and Pacific Islanders of Middle Tennessee. So that sounds super rad.
Nice. I like a bazaar.
They're also running a special for families right now where you can get 4 tickets for just $100, which honestly, like based on other Nashville Symphony prices, I feel like that's super cheap.
And if you're looking for a way to celebrate this weekend, please excuse us while we once again mention Zulumination. It's, I think, the country's largest lantern festival, as we've told you like 19 times. But they've got an entire pathway that you walk down with all of the different Lunar New Year animals on it, represented in wire and lit up silk. And it's gorgeous and perfect. And if you haven't been, y'all, time's running out. You got to go.
Right. And there's open bars everywhere. Little stations of...
There's not open bars. You have to pay for the bars.
Well, that's true. Yes, sorry. I should rephrase that. You have to pay for your alcohol there. But it makes the lanterns even more bright.
All-inclusive at the zoo sounds epic, though.
That would be sweet.
Yeah, it sounds like a great time.
Well, there's booze at the zoo.
Yeah, there's booze.
That's in October.
Well, that's another episode for another time.
That's true. Let's switch gears, y'all. Sorry to switch subjects, but we got to get into some local news that made national headlines this week. Whitney, can you tell us about our Tennessee legislative special session that began this past Monday and ended yesterday? Governor Bill Lee called for this. What topics were on the table?
Expansion of school vouchers across the entire state, immigration enforcement, and disaster relief for families in East Tennessee who were impacted by Hurricane Helene. The entire thing is estimated with a price tag near $1 billion for these pieces of legislation. Obviously, people have been watching vouchers very closely. We already have those here in Nashville. They've been piloting them with us. So I think that the legislation that was most important to people here in Nashville is this immigration enforcement bill. It provides incentives for law enforcement, local law enforcement, to help with deportations. It creates special temporary licenses for lawful permanent residents. These people currently qualify for just normal driver's licenses, but it will be asking them to have special papers. And it also creates a Class C felony and raises the possibility of removal from office for public officials who vote in favor of sanctuary policies. As you heard us say on last week's Friday News Roundup with Nicole Williams, those are already illegal in Tennessee. And it does seem to pretty intentionally be targeting the city of Nashville, where our Metro Council is most likely to vote on something to protect our immigrant and refugee communities. And I suppose the sense of sanctuary policies is up to a judgment call, probably by the state. Lawyers have said that this is probably not a constitutional aspect of this bill. And a number of people are already saying they'll bring a suit against the state to try to stop it. This session has gone really quickly. So again, this is a special session, right? This is not the Tennessee General Assembly that's going to start up again here in February. This is like breakneck smash and grab thing that is happening in order to get these three pieces of legislation across.
Yeah, so it's already over. Disaster relief passed on Wednesday, and then school vouchers and the immigration bill passed yesterday.
I know it's been a whirlwind, and I think a lot of people are not even really aware that it's been happening because there's been so much else going on the local level as well as nationally. So I just wanted to see if the two of you had any questions that I could answer.
I have so many questions, Whitney, but what I feel like is the most important is this immigration bill that possibly could be, for our local elected officials to be arrested.
If they are convicted of the Class C felony, it does come with jail time.
But we think that this obviously isn't constitutional and it won't actually happen. We just don't know. But
we don't know. Daniel Horowitz, who's a local lawyer of some prominence, has already said out loud that he will immediately sue the state to stop this. And then given the way that the legal process works, this is something that, a Tennessee state Supreme Court could decide is or is not unconstitutional. It could also end up going to the frickin' Supreme Court. I mean, we don't know. A lot of why these state legislatures, not just ours, pass these bills is to test our judicial system and see what they can get precedent for. And if this is a test balloon that they're floating with the intention of making it to the Supreme Court at some point, there's no way to predict what's going to happen. But in the meantime, I saw council member Sandra Sepulveda I guess we're not supposed to say skeet because it's nasty, but technically she did skeet this on Blue Sky. I don't know what Jesus Governor Lee or most of the Republicans at the state worship, but it's not my Jesus. My Jesus was an immigrant. My Jesus was a refugee. I ran for office because I wanted to help the community I've lived in since I was 5, and they want to put me in jail for that.
Right.
So that seems to be the sentiment among our local public officials. But again, I just want to emphasize to everybody listening, sanctuary policies are already illegal in the state of Tennessee. So there is a way to look at this as, well, great, they're just formalizing a penalty for those that didn't previously exist.
Whitney, have you heard anything on ICE being active in Nashville communities?
There is a wonderful new Instagram that's gotten set up called Music City Migro Watch. There's also an organization called The Remix that's working here in Nashville. It's people from within our immigrant community. And they've got this Instagram set up so that they can both take in and potentially debunk false ICE observations. So you can follow them at Music City Migro Watch. They've got the phone number on their Instagram, 615-933-8409, if you want to call them to report what you suspect may be or what you know is ICE activity in Nashville. We'll also have a lawyer from the Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition on with us next week who will help give us an overview on what your rights are and how you can best help if you see deportation activity taking place to ensure that whatever's happening is being done lawfully.
That's a lot. So while we're on the topic of surveillance, it sounds like it's a continuing conversation that doesn't go away.
There's a lot of surveillance technology in the news at a hyperlocal as well as the state level. We'll start with the hyperlocal. In the wake of the tragic Antioch High School shooting, MNPS is piloting a system at Antioch called Evolve. It's supposed to detect concealed weapons like the one that was in the January 22nd shooter's backpack, while being quicker and less intrusive than a metal detector. The Nashville Banner has done some reporting on this. It's the same system that they use at Nissan Stadium, but the Nashville Banner noted in their article that in November, Evolve settled with the Federal Trade Commission because it allegedly misrepresented the extent to which its product works. So that's what they've put in place at Antioch. And then, according to the Nashville Post, parents at Tuesday's school board meeting pleaded for just normal metal detectors and not just at Antioch. Something like 2,600 people have signed a petition asking for them at all of Metro Nashville public schools. One of the student school board members, Hannah Wynn, had a great comment that the Nashville Post quoted in their piece. She said, "Our communities are watching. Do not be desensitized by the frequency. This will never be okay. And just as a reminder, we are the only nation with this issue. And frankly, it is embarrassing and unpatriotic. We don't want vouchers. We want violence protection." You know, after a week in which we saw protests both at Antioch High School and at the state capitol calling for common sense gun reform, protection from gun violence, I do want to mention that Representative Jason Powell gave a really impassioned speech on the House floor yesterday morning during the debate on school vouchers, basically saying that a child's life is worth more than any school voucher. His amendment to make our schools safer was immediately killed, and the gallery, the people watching, got threatened by Speaker Sexton for reacting to that. So there is no gun control reform happening at the special session. Possibly they will take something up at the general session. Elsewhere in surveillance, at the state level, Democratic State Representative John Ray Clements, who represents a district here in Nashville, has been developing legislation that would allow law enforcement to use cameras posted on interstates to investigate crimes, according to Axios. And the crimes are things like human trafficking and gun violence, which John Ray says he's heard from his constituents that people are very worried about. But another thing that apparently the turning those cameras on is going to help with is drag racing, which doesn't seem like a priority. But anyway, John Ray already filed something, but after outcry from his constituents who were concerned, and to play the song again with how the cameras could be used in immigration enforcement, et cetera, he's withdrawing the bill and planning to bring it back maybe later in the general session after he sees how things, quote, play out in DC. So that's one legislator who is listening to his constituents who are saying, we're not so sure about this. On the flip side, we've got our Metro Council and our mayor at next Tuesday's council meeting. Our good friend Fusus is back on the table in an amended version from Councilmember Rollin Horton. It's supposed to have enough guardrails to prevent it from being abused by the feds or anyone else for that matter, but nobody in the sort of progressive activist immigrant women scared about, you know, their privacy in terms of reproductive rights. None of these people seem to be buying it. That's going to be back up on Tuesday. It'll be interesting to see how this vote goes down. A lot of people think that the whole reason why Fusus didn't pass the first time back in December is because a couple of key council members were actually absent from the meeting. Go to Council Tuesday, make your voice heard. Unlike at the state legislature, you are not going to be shouted out or gavelled down or dragged out, hopefully, of our local people's house. I also want to mention that it's the pre-budget public comment period on Tuesday. They've set aside 2 hours to hear from all of us about our priorities for this year's budget. You got to be there by 5 p.m. to sign up. You get 2 minutes to comment, and you need to bring ID that shows you live in Tennessee now after the neo-Nazis that showed up and disrupted the council meeting over the summer. That's a new requirement. So bring ID, show up, and say what you think we should be spending our money on. And if you can't make it, you can email your thoughts to council members at nashville.gov. Okay, that was a lot. But when we come back, speaking of the budget, we've got some follow-up on the library funding cuts we discussed in Wednesday's episode, and Marie's going to share those with us.
This past Wednesday, we had a podcast episode where I interviewed Liz Vile from the nonprofit Small World Yoga about the recent funding gap from the Nashville Public Library that led to cuts in wellness programming at the libraries, including her yoga classes. We heard from a listener on Blue Sky who happens to be a Nashville public librarian, and she added some really great context on the funding issue.
Oh, cool. I love that we're getting feedback on Blue Sky.
Yes.
I'm on Blue Sky. Marie's on Blue Sky.
Yes,
Daniel, are you on Blue Sky?
No, I'm strictly an X guy. No, I need to get on Blue Sky for sure.
We're at citycastnash.bluesky.social. If you want to follow us there, please do. It's fun. It's like Twitter before it got evil.
And they just launched a photo app
Pink
as well.
Sky.
Pink Sky.
Back to what our listeners say.
Yes. So first, they enjoyed the podcast about the library's yoga program. So that was lovely. But also they wrote, the loss of funding for yoga classes at the library is not due to any loss in funding via the Metro budget. It's due to a loss in grant funding that came by way of the library's foundation. Yoga and meditation classes, the puppet truck, special performers, author visits, computer classes for seniors, the summer reading program, pretty much everything you love about the library is made possible by donations from the community and not the Metro budget.
So this was not a budget cut. This was a loss in grant funding from the foundation.
And then the listener continues to say, that's not to throw shade at Metro. The budget can always be healthier, but the real meat lies in our foundation funding. So if we're wanting to really support your Nashville libraries, please consider donating to our foundation and becoming a friend of the library at nplf.org/donate.
Okay, that's fascinating context. And I'm really glad we've got that there. I mean, we tried very hard to get the library on the record in that conversation to help us better understand what was going on. We did appreciate them sending over a statement, but it's great to know that this is maybe not a Metro budget problem. But I do want to point out also that, the library has been in a bit of turmoil for the last 3 years or so. The Nashville Banner had a story today. Terry Luke, who has been interim executive director of the Nashville Public Library since 2022, may be getting elevated to actual director. They had a failed search from a search firm, and they've been in flux since previous director Kent Oliver retired in July of 2022. Maybe it will help with some of the instability around all of this to actually have a director overseeing everything.
Well, I just highly encourage listeners to support your local library and check out that website as well.
We love you, libraries.
We love you, library. And you know what also I love?
What?
The freaking Grammys.
Oh my gosh, they're happening. I didn't think they were going to happen after the wildfires.
I know, actually.
Daniel, you're our local music guy. That's your new job.
That's
producer
music,
and music guy.
Yeah, Nashville's being fully represented. Tell us.
Yeah, fully represented as per usual. For some of the more mainstream nominees, we have Lainey Wilson, Casey Musgraves, Chris Stapleton, and Post Malone. They are all nominated for Best Country Album. We've also got Julian Bonetta. He does have a studio here in Nashville. He's one of my personal favorite producers. And he is nominated for Record of the Year for a little jingle you may have heard called Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. Yeah, I will be completely shocked if that doesn't win Record of the Year. I mean, it's been absolutely massive and so good.
Maria, I saw the words Taylor and Swift pop up in your eyes.
Well, I just read before we hopped on, I was looking at a Pitchfork article, and I love that they listed all the Grammy nominees and then who should win and who will win. And a lot of a lot of Taylor, some Taylor stuff. It's like, this person should win, but Taylor's probably going to win. So we shall see.
And then we've also got Maddie Diaz, who she has 2 nominations, one for Best Folk Album for her album Weird Faith, and then also for Best Americana Performance. I got to see her play an acoustic set at Grimey's actually for like her album release, and she's phenomenal. She's got a song called Same Risk on that album that is so good. So I'm really pulling for that album to win in that category.
Nice. I'm going to go up against you on that one because my best folk album pick is Gillian Welch and David Rawlings, whose album Woodland is also nominated. Woo! That's named for their studio on Woodland Street, right there in 5 Points. And it's about recovering from the 2020 tornado that basically like ripped the roof off that joint. And it's only because they were in town and could run down there that their entire lifetime of recordings and instruments and everything that they own was saved. So that's a beautiful, very, very Nashville album that, no shade to Maddie Diaz, who we love. I'm kind of sentimentally rooting for Gillian and David.
Absolutely. And then lastly, we've got Jack White nominated for Best Rock Album. I feel like that's just tradition at this point. He's like nominated every year for Best Rock Album. The big category I'm focused on is Best Rap Album. I'm a huge J. Cole fan, so I'm hoping he wins for his album Might Delete Later. Have you guys had a chance to check out the other nominees? Who are you all rooting for?
I just hope Beyonce.
Ding, ding,
She's
ding,
so
ding.
Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is nominated for 6 Grammys. Beyonce nominated for 11. I just think after her snub at the CMAs, it would just be amazing for Beyonce to, dominate as she should.
As she should. And it's not just her snub at the CMAs. I think she's lost to Taylor twice? Question mark. And I don't think that our nation can go through that again. And this is absolutely no offense to Ms. Taylor Eileen Swift. What's her middle name?
Allison?
Taylor Allison Swift. It's no shade to her, but can we please, for the love of God, even though this is not her strongest album, give Beyonce the Album of the Year award for Cowboy Carter? The nation needs this.
The nation does need this.
Well, good luck to all of we all know people who are personally going to be at the Grammys. Definitely watch the pre-show, y'all. They'll run it online. That's where most of our hometown heroes are going to be up for awards. And it's definitely really, really cool when you see someone who's your neighbor run up on stage and get a Grammy. So be sure y'all are tuned in for that on Sunday.
Speaking of Grammy winners, I get to talk about Dolly Parton now. I was sitting here the other day and, my phone was going off with alerts of like, Dolly Parton's musical is premiering. And I immediately checked flights to New York. I was like, I have to see this. And then when I clicked on to buy tickets, I realized that the Dolly Parton musical that was just announced is actually premiering right here in Nashville, Tennessee at the Fisher Center at Belmont University for 1 month. So Dolly, an original musical, is making its world premiere right here in Nashville, July and August. Tickets are as low as $40.
Wow.
So, and there's still plenty available. So please check that out. And it's so cool that she's partnering with Belmont University. It's called Dolly U, which I think is amazing. And so she's allowing Belmont students to work alongside her and the musical cast, the production team, be production assistants, help in casting. They're allowing students to travel to New York to audition for the new musical.
Wow.
I think
That's
that is
insane.
so freaking cool. What an amazing opportunity that's happening right here in our town.
That's so cool.
That's not all. Dolly also.
That's not all.
No,
Oh, wait, there's
Dolly,
more.
There's more. Some lovely Tennessee Republicans have proposed the renaming of our beloved Nashville International Airport as the Trump International Airport. But a good friend of mine, a fellow comedian, Lydia Popovich, started a petition on change.org for it actually to be called Dolly International Airport. So I think it has thousands of signatures at this point. I would just love to hear from our listeners. What do you all think? Should we rename our airport Trump or Dolly? Email us at Nashville at citycast.fm.
Before we go, Daniel, there is some sports ball thing happening next week. Do you want to tell us briefly what that is? Because it's really exciting, actually.
Absolutely. So the Kansas City Chiefs are chasing history.
Okay, no, that's not.
We are. I say we like I'm
You're
on the team.
supposed to be talking about the lady basketball, dude.
Oh, sorry. Nashville is going to be welcoming the Athletes Unlimited Pro Basketball League. It's going to run from February 5th through March 2nd. Features Olympians, WNBA champions, as well as emerging young talent. I personally am someone who is just sincerely hoping that Nashville gets a WNBA team one year. Basketball is like my absolute favorite sport. So
do I have some good news for you? Dun, dun, dun. Per Front Office Sports, former governor of Tennessee, Bill Haslam, has announced a bid for a WNBA expansion team called, wait for it, because I love it so much, the Tennessee Summit, which has got to be in honor of legendary Tennessee Lady Vols coach Pat Summitt. Oh. The team's ownership group includes Candace Parker, Faith Hill and Tim McGraw, and Peyton Manning.
Oh my God, I love
Tennessee
this.
Standout.
Yeah.
Will it happen? We don't know. Will it have more luck than our attempt at an NWSL ladies soccer team? We don't know, but that is some exciting breaking news. Y'all go check out that Athletes Unlimited tournament. It's supposed to be super cool. It's at Municipal, and I'm excited. I know my friends who are WNBA fans are massively excited. So check that out. It starts next week.
Oh, wow. This weekend, we have a lot going on. We also cannot forget 615 Indie Live is this Saturday, February 1st. So check it out. And before we go, don't forget to take our survey, y'all. We're doing
we need survey jingle music.
Survey.
I'll write it.
What would that? Yeah, just be elevator music. We're doing a survey to learn more about y'all. We'd be very grateful if you took our survey at citycast.fm/survey. My mom took it. It only took her 7 minutes to do so, and she's 77 years old, so I bet you could do it faster. You'll be doing us a very, very big favor if you fill it out. Plus, anyone who takes the survey will be eligible to win a $250 Visa gift card and some CityCast swag.
Nice.
Swag. That was a great jingle, Whitney. Great jingle.
I think they should hire us to do formal advertising with just me doing that in the background. It's not annoying at all. Let's have a good weekend, everybody.
Yes, have a great weekend.
Y'all take care of each other.
Be good humans. Thanks.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson. Our executive producer is Whitney Pasterek. Our producers are Patrick Emile and Daniel Sumstein. Our Hey Nashville newsletter editor is Margaret Kingsbury, and our theme music is by Prof Jenkins. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!